Hi there and welcome. In this video we're going to build this closet that we see here. It's going to be a long video on the full build of all the shelving. I filmed this and took pictures a couple years ago actually and decided to put a video together. This should cover everything from start to end. And basically for this we wanted a closet that had more shelving than hanging space. And we wanted some of those baskets here we see. We wanted some kind of drawer system, stuff you can see and find at IKEA. And we looked at putting together all the cabinets ourselves, but it didn't quite work out for dimensions. Here's what we have originally in the house, and a quick video of me as I was taking it apart. It was basically just some cheap metal shelving you can get at anywhere, and most of our closets in our house have this shelving, which I will be replacing in time. And this is our master bedroom closet. It was quite a bit of hanging space, but it just wasn't very functional, especially in the corners. So we started ripping everything out and started the build. This was made out of almost all MDF. It's easy to paint, easy to cut, easy to stack. Here's some of the corner pieces, squares that I've got prepped. I didn't film all the panel cutting. Don't really need to see all that. First cabinet here that I'm putting together is the cabinet for the drawers. And this had to be precise size because we wanted to match what the IKEA shelving was. So I cut it to fit, and just some putting it together, used some corner clamps, some glue and screws, and some lining up. I wanted the rails to fit properly in these, so I made them first to fit. Here's our template for the corner shelving that we're going to use to cut all the MDF shelving from. And here in the closet we've got some of our base boxes that we're going to use as the bottom, which will basically be the height of the baseboards. So I'm going to line them up into the corner here so I can make some marks on where I need to cut the baseboards out. I'm going to leave as much in place as I can and just cut out what I need. So here I've got the base of the cabinet in place. You can see the sides where I've cut out the baseboards. Now I'm cutting out the carpet to get the base right to the plywood floor. I've got the carpet and the underlay out here, and this is where I will glue in the cabinet base. The way I installed them was I've just sort of lined them up. I'm actually put some construction adhesive underneath, and you can see in a couple spots I've got some pocket holes drilled just for the front. You can't really get through to the back, but once the construction adhesive is in, it's not going to go anywhere. Here I've got the base in place and ready to start assembling. First up was the two cabinets for the mesh drawers, and just trying to line them up and shim them. And with any house build, or if you do any cabinets, you'll also know that none of your walls will be square or straight. So when you put square cabinets into an uneven surface or uneven walls, you're going to have to do some shimming. So that's what I've got lined up here. I'm shimming the cabinets to get them level. I've also added a small strip on the side here so that when it's up against the wall like this, we've got something to glue a filler strip on the inside there. So once that's in place, I can glue that in later. So here you can see how everything is going to be lined up. What I'm doing here is I'm just going to clamp a 3/4 inch strip as a spacer to keep everything square and where I want the drawer cabinets to be. So these two here on top are eventually going to have drawers in them. And when I mount these or glue them in place, I want them to be even. So I'm just clamping a spacer or guide on the front of the cabinets or the drawer cabinets. So what I did here is I just put a lot of wood glue and some weights on it to keep it from moving around, and I'm just going to let that sit up to dry overnight, and we'll continue building on from there. So you can see here next we're just doing the shelving. I'm using lots of MDF. I'm using MDF against the back wall as shelving support. And here's a shot of the corner section as I'm building up. These ones I've actually glued and screwed to the wall. I'm screwing into the joists, I guess. I've checked for them and then I'm just screwing them into a couple spots. Here everything's going together and I'm gluing as I go in layers. Each corner shelf is sitting on top of the edges and the back wall MDF panels as well, so there's plenty of support. Here we're doing the next layer on the shelving, and again, same way, just MDF, cut to size, screwed to the wall, and glued, put some weights on, and keep moving up from there. Here's a picture of the shelves as I've been going up, and every layer is glued and screwed together. The top here, I've got some spreading clamps just to keep that one wall straight as I go up. And here we're starting the opposite corner. So this, I guess, as you're walking into the right. Again, cut out the carpet, cut the baseboards, glue and screw into the corner, and working up the wall with the supports, sidewall supports, and again, building up as I go with lots of glue, lots of screws into the wall. And you can see here I've got some close-ups of how I'm clamping everything, gluing everything together as I go. There's plenty of support for every shelf. I've actually got very little screws in the shelving themselves. I'm just used the screws into the joists, and with the plywood there I've screwed at an angle into the supports as well. So those screws there are screwed into the wall as well as to the plywood that I've screwed to the wall as the back support. So there's nowhere for it to go. Here's a summary video of the shelving kind of all complete. I've started some filling of the gaps because everything's going to be painted. So lots of wall filler, filling in the holes for the old shelving. Got some, you can see on the edges there, I've been filling in all the corners, and it's a lot of filling, a lot of sanding. So that's the next step, is going through just like you're finishing drywall, really. You're going to fill all your gaps, you're going to sand it, you're going to refill, sand some more, and keep going until you've got a nice smooth paintable surface. Here's what I did for the baseboards, which were next, is I actually used my table saw to set the angle of each board at either 45 or other angles, and all I had to do was flip it over to get the proper angle. Using a sled, I got a much nicer finish than trying to hold it upright and use a miter saw. You can see here, just test fitting some angles. All I did was use a protractor to set the angle. Then I cut that angle in half and used that to set the table saw blade, and I got a perfect fit every time. Here's another shot of the corner. So I got a 45 in the corner, and I think that was probably a 15-degree cut there on the left side of that board. Here's how the basket drawers set up. The one on the left here actually turned out quite nice. Comes in and out as it should, but I ran into a problem on the right hand side one. The space between these expanded. So because I used plywood to build those cabinets as I was building, and pressure, who knows, but the one on the right expanded. So when you put the drawers in, the alignment's not right, so there's lots of binding. And so now I got to figure out a way to fix that. So what I did was I took another piece of 1/4 inch MDF, cut it to size, and I planed it down on the top and bottom. So you can see how this top is a bit thinner. I think it was down to maybe 1/8 of an inch thick. I can't remember, but you can see some of the planing marks on there. And I had to plane it in a bow shape because it was wider in the middle. So using a piece of wood here, I just checked the gap. This one almost had very little play on it, and on the right hand side here I had almost a 1/4 inch gap in the middle and about an 1/8 inch gap at the top, which I didn't actually film that part. Basically it was loose, so that caused our rails to be out of alignment. So what I did was use this piece here, and we're going to fit that in to fix our mistake and sort of compensate for the difference here in the middle at a 1/4 inch and then about an 1/8 of an inch at the top. So we're going to need to glue this back into place, and we're going to re-drill our holes here to match. So I measured them using the same template. I actually had a piece of board that I used as a template here. I'm going to keep these lined up using the drill bit that I used to make the holes, and we're just going to clamp and glue this in place and fix our mistake. You can see I've actually got some stuff in all the shelving. It was being used for laundry already. We've got folded clothes in there. I've already got the finish coat on here and didn't realize the issue till it was painted. So with this in place, I put one of the rails back in so I can test fit this. Get that in place, and it rolls in and out as it should. So good, we got a way to fix this. Gonna mount a couple more at the top here and just make sure all the drawers are coming in and out as they should, and then we will start prepping to install this piece. So what I did is I sanded off the paint that I had on there because I want the glue to actually stick. And what I'm going to do is I think I put glue on this already here in this scene, and I'm just going to keep the alignment with the holes using the drill bits again. I've got a bunch that are the same size. Keep that in line. And I'm going to use the actual rails to hold this in place. They're screwed in, they're tight, and it'll keep it from moving, and it will allow the glue to dry. You can see here I'm just putting some extra clamps. I've got all the drawer rails in, and I'm doing a pressure fit clamp here to keep everything tight while the glue dries overnight. And all I did was finish it the same as the rest. Primer, top coat paint. I filled in the gaps where I needed to. And here's a video of the finished product again. And I did film this on my iPhone with the vertical view, so that's why it's a bit narrow. But it gets you a view of everything done. It's all finished. Everything matches the trim in the house, and it looks like it's a built-in now. Nobody will know the wiser, unless they watch this video, of course. If you have any questions, just send me a message or post a comment. Other than that, I did do this video and pictures a couple of years ago, so I may not remember all the details. And that's it. Thanks for watching.